Alfred the Great, born in 849 in Wessex, now part of modern-day England, is remembered as one of the most prominent monarchs of Anglo-Saxon England. His reign from 871 until his death in 899 marked a significant turning point in the history of England, a time of crisis and transformation. He was not only a warrior king who led his people through the tumult of Viking invasions but also a scholar, reformer, and builder of a legacy that would influence English culture for centuries. Early life and ascension to the throne. Alfred was born to King Ethelwulf of Wessex and his wife Osburh, a noblewoman from a well-established family. As the youngest of 5 children, Alfred's early life seemed unlikely to lead to the throne. His father, Ethelwulf, was a well-regarded king, but upon his death, it was his eldest son, Ethelbald, who inherited the kingdom. The death of Ethelbald and his 2 brothers put Alfred in a position where he was unexpectedly called to lead. In 871, Alfred became King of Wessex after the untimely deaths of his older brothers. By that time, the Viking invasions were wreaking havoc across England. The Danes, led by Ivar the Boneless and others, were aggressively expanding their territories in England. Alfred's reign, therefore, began in a time of dire crisis, one that demanded military, diplomatic, and leadership prowess. The Viking invasions. In the late 9th century, Viking raids on England became more frequent and destructive. Alfred's reign was primarily defined by his efforts to defend his kingdom from these Norse invaders. In 878, he famously faced the Vikings at the Battle of Edington. Alfred, despite his initial defeats and the loss of much of southern England, managed to rally his forces and defeat the Viking army decisively. This victory marked a turning point in the war with the Vikings and significantly weakened their ability to continue their invasions. Following this victory, Alfred negotiated a peace treaty with the Viking leader Guthrum, which resulted in the Treaty of Wedmore. The treaty established a boundary between the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms and the Viking-controlled Danelaw, a region encompassing much of northern and eastern England. This treaty allowed for a temporary peace, although conflict with the Vikings would resurface throughout Alfred's reign. Reform and governance. Alfred's reign was not solely defined by warfare. He was also a visionary leader who sought to strengthen and stabilize Wessex through administrative reforms. He worked to create a more organized and secure society, reforming the legal system and instituting various protections for the common people. Alfred's law code, which combined both Anglo-Saxon traditions and Christian ideals, emphasized justice and order. He sought to create a fair system of governance where all individuals, regardless of their social class, could receive justice. Alfred also placed a high value on education and literacy. At a time when much of the clergy and nobility were illiterate, Alfred took steps to improve education and promote learning. He invited scholars from across Europe, including Asser, a Welsh monk, who would later write a biography of Alfred. He himself translated several important texts, including works by Pope Gregory the Great and Boethius, into Anglo-Saxon, making them more accessible to his people. Through these efforts, Alfred played a pivotal role in the intellectual revival of the Anglo-Saxon world. Another major reform he enacted was the creation of a fortified defense system across Wessex, known as the Buzz. These were fortified towns built at strategic locations to protect the kingdom from further Viking incursions. Alfred also restructured the military, ensuring that his troops were better organized, more mobile, and more capable of resisting Viking attacks. His reforms to the army and fortifications were pivotal in the survival of Wessex during the period of Viking invasions. Cultural impact and legacy. Alfred the Great's efforts went beyond defense and governance. He had a deep understanding of the importance of culture, education, and unity for the long-term survival of his kingdom. His reign saw a flowering of Anglo-Saxon culture, particularly in the form of literature, scholarship, and the arts. The use of the English language in written works grew under his influence, helping to preserve Anglo-Saxon heritage and culture in a period when the English language might have otherwise faded into obscurity. Alfred's commitment to the Christian faith was also a defining feature of his reign. He believed that the welfare of his people was closely linked to the Christian God and made efforts to promote Christianity across his realm. He rebuilt churches, encouraged religious observance, and saw himself as both a warrior and a defender of the Christian faith. Alfred's legacy continued long after his death in 899. His work in establishing the framework for the eventual unification of England cannot be overstated. Although his son, Edward the Elder, and his grandsons would face further challenges from Viking invaders, Alfred's vision for a united England would eventually come to fruition in the 10th century. Alfred is also remembered as one of the few kings in history to have earned the title the Great, a testament to the lasting impact of his leadership. Death and commemoration. Alfred the Great died in 899 after a reign that lasted nearly 3 decades. His death marked the end of an era, but his influence continued to shape England's political and cultural landscape. He was buried at the Old Minster in Winchester, which was the royal capital of Wessex at the time. Alfred's legacy is honoured to this day. He is often remembered as a great military leader, a wise ruler, and a proponent of learning and justice. His achievements in defence, governance, and culture earned him a reputation as one of England's most revered monarchs. Even centuries after his death, Alfred the Great remains a symbol of strength, wisdom, and the enduring spirit of the Anglo-Saxon people.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe our channel.